Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Todd Coombs and I do all things photography on this channel, as you maybe know. If you've not been here before, thanks for coming and watching. If you've been here before, welcome back. I know it's been a while since I did a video. In fact, I have a beard now. So let me know, let's start out. Let me know what you think of that. Just kind of doing it for fun. I don't have any real reason for growing a beard, but I've never really done it before, so I'm at about 3 weeks right now. Let me know what you think. Be honest with me. If it looks horrible, tell me. If it makes me look old, definitely tell me that. My son actually told me it made me look old, but he said, Dad, it's not in a bad way. I'm not exactly sure what that means, because I'm thinking looking older can never be a good way, can it? Alright, so a lot of you know that I have taken a full-time job this year working for a company called Knives. I do all the product photography for them. It has been a fantastic job and I'm enjoying it. It keeps me very busy, which is the biggest reason why I'm not on YouTube as much as I used to be. But, you know, it's a job that is fantastic and I've loved it, and I want to do a little video today showing you how I do what I do when I photograph for Knives. I happen to have one of their amazing knives here in my studio here at the house. It is one that I am giving to a very good friend of mine. In fact, I'm hoping maybe we can touch base with him during the process of this video and get a little bit of art direction, because Mark Sela has been my go-to art director over the years for probably close to 20 years. Amazing artist in his own right, and this knife is going to him. I actually have one of Microtech's. This is called an Ultratech, and super cool knife. But before I send it off to Mark, which is kind of my little tradition around here, when I get a new product, whether it be a pair of shoes or something, I like to photograph it just for my own personal portfolio or whatever, before I send it off or before I use it. So before we send this to Mark, I'm going to take a photograph of it and I'm going to show you how I do what I do at my new job at Microtech.
Waste another day, eyes on my display. You say we need a change and I feel that you mean it. You mean it.
Okay, so typically when I'm working on these knives, I have been shooting on the floor because I'm looking down at things. Now, is being on the floor ideal? You know, you're up and down and up and down. That's a little bit of a problem, but it's better than having the camera way up high where I'm up on a ladder looking down on it. I've thought about building some kind of thing that's maybe 1.5 feet, 2 feet off the floor, so that I'm not so low but not having to get my camera too high. But for today, we're going to be on the floor. Now it's a matter of coming up with the right props to prop this thing, because we got to make it look good. You know, that's always the big challenge, is to come up with live scenes that these knives are in that, you know, stays on brand, looks visually appealing, makes the knife look good, but doesn't look the same every single time, because I shoot a lot of knives. I mean, 50 to 100 knives will come through my studio every single week, it seems like. We're constantly putting on social media, and they need to look like they go together, but not like, oh, they're use the same background, same props every single time. So that's one of the big challenges. Today, this knife is going to my good buddy Mark. And we started teaching at OIP years and years ago. We taught at a photography college. So I'm going to do kind of a photography OIP theme in my props. Might not make perfect sense for the knife itself, but in this particular case, I think it's going to be perfect. Do I have an Ohio license plate? I think I do. Oh, I even have an old-fashioned one, so that should look pretty cool. And don't tell anybody, but I have got the sign to the store from the school. I'm not going to say how I got that. Whatever. Now, the knives themselves, incredibly sharp. I have cut myself a couple of times in the process of doing these, so you always want to be careful. But I think that's going to be a pretty good start. Okay, I have got a basic setup there, and more than likely I will probably make some adjustments as I go, but I got the basic setup here, and so now I've got to do some lighting. Now, when it comes to product photography, obviously you've got to show off the product and make it look good. When it comes to a knife, it's a shiny metal object, so you've got to have good reflections on it. One of the big things, and I was told this on the very first day I started working at Microtech, was that edge of that blade has got to light up. It shows how sharp it is, makes it really pop. So I'm going to position the softbox on this side to get that nice reflection on that blade. And then I've got a barn door and a grid on this little speed light. And we're going to do a streak of light coming through here to give it some real dimension and pizzazz. So may have to tweak some things a little bit, but I think we're pretty darn close. Yeah, so let me get some light on it and we'll take that first shot. Now I have got my Fuji X-T4 that I'm shooting this with. At the moment I've got my 16-55 on here, and typically I would not shoot product stuff with a wide angle lens like that. Not that a 55 end of it is wide, but lately I've been shooting with a little bit wider angle lens for the sake of kind of making that blade elongate a little bit, and you get down into the scene and it just has some interest to it. But typically my go-to would be more like an 80mm macro. But let's see, I don't know. Well, let's see where we're going with this thing. And a lot of times I'll shoot vertical because we're going to social media. Let's go vertical. Let's change this thing up. Okay, let's get this thing on manual focus because I don't want the focus jumping around on me. Okay, so I've got everything set up, and now I'm going to get tethered to the computer because it's going to be a whole lot easier to see what's going on when I see it big on a screen. Then dial in the ratios, this light compared to that light. Probably get a reflector in the front, make sure the edge of that blade really pops, and tweak this thing so that it's fantastic, and we will have ourselves a final shot, I think. So I'm going to get hooked up to be tethered and go from there. Okay, so I took the first shot. Definitely need to do some changing as far as how things are laid out. Okay, that's maybe a little bit better. I think the store sign might end up being very minimal in this shot because it's blue and it's kind of ugly, and that I'm not hating. Okay, I also think I need to change some ratios here, and I believe it or not, I can be at f/16. Let's try that. Okay, so let's see where we're at. I have moved this light a little bit. I've rearranged the items in the shot. I brought this softbox this way just a little bit better. And then the other thing I want to do is add a mirror so that I can reflect a little bit of light to the back handle of the knife. Let's try that. Okay, I'm not liking the composition at all here. So we're gonna start over a little bit. And I'm not sure what it needs, but it needs something. Something's not clicking here. I need something right there. I think I know what it might be. This is an old can that they put film in. We're at f/16 ISO 160. The softbox is at 1/8 power and the little grid is on 1/4 power. Almost half power, 1/4 and 7/10. All right, let's see where we're at. That's it. That looks a little hot on the screen, but I think the exposure is probably right. I will tell you, the white balance is a little weird. It looks a little cool to me. But one thing I think it needs is something right down here to kind of ground that end. The other thing that I might do is add a third light that kind of shoots across the back. I don't know. But here's what I found to put down in that bottom left corner. Remember the old zip drives? I think those were a thing when Mark and I were teaching. And then I've got a couple of old filters. So we're going to add those to the shot and ground that bottom corner. And then I need to think about that light. But I think we're getting pretty close to maybe call Mark, show it to him, see what he thinks. So I have sent this image off to Mark to get his thoughts on it, because Mark is a graphic designer, and over the years, he has been one of my go-to guys as what I would call an art director. So if ever I am working on something, I'll send it off to him and get some thoughts and some input, and he always has great direction. But for some reason, Mark is not answering my text today. What the heck is up with that? You know who else started out being hard to get a hold of?
Buying things online and it's not like we need them.
Okay, so let me show you how I do a little bit of post-processing. I'm a big fan of doing as much of it in camera as you can possibly do. However, Photoshop and Lightroom is an amazing tool, so we're going to utilize it. The other thing is, in a high volume studio, when you're doing a lot of photographs, sometimes you don't have the time to get every little thing perfect in camera. And as much as I would like to have it done when it comes out of the camera, you're usually going to have to do a few little tweaks and things. So let me show you how I do this. Now, normally the first thing I'll do is color grade it. I don't think my white balance is perfect here anyway, but a lot of times these days, it seems like at Microtech, I'm going a little on the warmer side. That's kind of been a request. So I'm gonna warm this guy up just a little bit, because I was a little on the warm side, or the cool side anyway. I almost think we could go a little farther than that. There's without it, there's with it. Yeah, liking that. However, it tends to can go a little green, so let's take a little of that out. Green is always bad. I will almost always put a little vignette on it. I will always take the whites up a little bit, because again, this white edge on here, super important. And then I'll do a little bit of masking, typically. This right side of the image, too bright. So we'll do a linear mask and start bringing that down. And then I'm going to add to this mask a little bit just with with a brush, and kind of come in and knock a few things down just a little bit. And that the blade of the knife really starts to pop there. I'm liking that a lot. I'm going to come back in and take my whites up just a little bit more. And honestly, that's about all I would do to it. Like I said, we're getting really close in camera. You can read the label, you can read the brand, the type of knife it is, the type of steel that it's made with, the logo itself, and you can see some dust on here. That's the next step. So good to go, just like that. So we're going to export that.
Can we just slow down? The only thing I'll do is lay here next to you. We need to slow
Guys, what do you think? That's a final image. I think it turned out pretty good. It was fun to put together. Hopefully Mark enjoyed it. Guy still hasn't called me. I don't know what he's doing on a Saturday. He's got a life, I guess. Who knew? But anyway, Let me know what you think. If you got questions, comments, complaints, let me know. I appreciate it as always. If you have not subscribed, I would appreciate it if you consider subscribing. Leave me a thumbs up. I will see you guys in the next video.
Thank you.